Cancer, greetings and salutations. We are going to hop right on into your hopes, fears, and reality spread. This whole deck just flipped over. Y'all feeling okay? This is a pretty strong card. Let's shuffle and start from the beginning. There we go. Hopes, fears, and reality. And it came out again. I'm telling you. It's turned around a bit, though. It's turned around. But it's in the fear section. All right. Transition, transition, transition. Something feels to me like you're at a moment in your transition where your feelings have got the best of you, and you don't want to hold those feelings back anymore. I mean, you certainly don't want to go letting them out on a bunch of people and hurting other people's feelings, but the need for expression at this point in your transition is eminent. You desire nothing more than to spill out all of these feelings that you've been holding back. I don't think you're going to, but you daydream about it. You really do. You daydream about just letting everything out. The release of just saying exactly how you feel. Not the logic, not the explanation, just the completely subjective portion of it that nobody can tell you is wrong because your feelings are your feelings. This is a rough transition for you, Cancer, isn't it? Reflecting on all the times you had to get over all of the painful things that people have put you through, that you learned and you grew from, causes you anxiety. Holding this in for as long as you have and not acting and not telling people off, not giving people what time of day it is and all that stuff is starting to build and bubble and boil up inside of you. And you are hoping, it's funny, you're daydreaming about letting out, but the anxiety is, how do I even keep it in? Can I keep it in? Is it going to spill out? I'm telling you, Cancer, you are biting your tongue, and it is so hard to do right now. The reality of the situation is, despite this, it's funny, I often describe Cancers, because I describe all the water signs as different bodies of water. Pisces is a fish. I picture a fish in like the Alaskan streams when the salmon are running upstream. That is exactly how I picture a Pisces. It's rough waters, it's cold waters, and you guys are constantly pushing toward the impossible. Okay? When it comes to Scorpio, I think of like the what do they call it? The meridian, the deepest part of the ocean. Where all those weird creatures that don't see the light of day live. Because Scorpio, they go really, really deep and they go to those scary places. They can push those boundaries and they forget that other people can't live there. People can visit with a Scorpio, but they can't stay there for very long. Now, with the Cancer, I imagine Cancer as a very placid lake. This is you guys here. A very placid lake where people look at it and on the surface it looks peaceful and beautiful. But underneath there's this whole ecosystem that is rolling and turning. And if you ever really saw and the lake that I picture, because I'm from the Midwest, I picture a lake with like pike in it. If you've ever seen pikes, it's a little brutal. There's some very aggressive fish, just like a crab. A crab can be very, very aggressive. It tears apart other beings. It The balance of an ecosystem is both beautiful and dangerous at the same time. But when you're looking at a cancer, they're calm on the surface. You would never know all of those little things that are happening deep inside. The devouring of another species in order to keep the ecosystem alive. The balance that it takes to keep things moving in a regular nature. And that's what I get out of this reality right here, right? This is what people see. They only see the surface of that placid lake. They don't know about all the goings on underneath. They just see that placid lake and they go, oh, cancer. You're so even keeled. Well, deep down inside, there's something just eating you up inside. But what people see is somebody who deals with the facts and rises above it. And that's what you do. You deal with the facts and you rise above it. But inside, you don't want to be that person. Inside, you want to be the person who just lets it out just for once. It's like you're craving this release, but you're afraid of it at the same time. Because you know that words are like toothpaste. Once you squeeze it all out of that tube, you can't bring it all back in. Right? But again, there's this restlessness. There's this feeling of winning at all costs, but it's exhausting. And when I say winning, it's holding back. It's biting your tongue. But you're tired of doing so. And that water will bubble up. And that really rough ecosystem will have to balance itself out by a show of power at some point. The question is, you know what? Again, with the water sign, Cancer, it's like when you're boiling noodles, right? And it gets too much and all the bubbles come up, and all you have to do is let a little steam out of that pot, right? And then everything, and the chaos of everything boiling over doesn't happen. That's what you're looking for. But the problem is you've done that so many times. The maintenance of pulling up that pot, pulling up, it's just not working for you. Eventually, at some point, you will bubble over. I don't know. The competition isn't even important to you anymore. And you know that there's rough waters ahead. And your resources, and by resources I mean health, wealth, and time management. Mostly I get the health here, the mental and the spiritual health. They're not under your control anymore. The need to scream and make a fuss is evident, and yet you manage to maintain this vision of peacefulness on the surface. This very placid and beautiful lake, and everybody walks by and says, ooh, Cancer, nothing ever bothers you. Nothing ever bothers you. But inside, you're boiling. And if something happens where you don't get those small moments of release, everything's just going to come up to the surface. And the calmness will give way to a storm. I wish you luck. I hope you find the release that you need to keep the storm at bay. I hope you found the message that serves your highest good, and I'll see you next week.